Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I'm Chatty, this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about my plans for January 2025. So get yourself a brew. I have got a very nice warm tea here, and I'm also going to indulge in a salted caramel biscuit. It's nice and crunchy and incredibly delicious, and just enjoying the last few indulgences of the Christmassy holiday time before we go back into the normal routine of life and fresh starts and plans for January. So go and get yourself something nice to drink and settle in to just have a cozy chat about what I'm planning on doing in January, and please tell me what you're planning on doing in January, because you know I love a chat. So that tea is absolutely lovely. It's just a perfect temperature. I can't drink it when it's straight away too hot, but that's just the right temperature for me. Welcome if you're new here, thanks for popping in, and welcome back if you have been here before. Happy New Year, everybody. I don't usually kind of like set a lot by the new year. September kind of tends to be more of New Year because of like being in the school term time and things. But because of the bookish community, I now get really excited about the new year because I love all the content that comes out. I love all the goals, the reflections on the past year, people's plans. Everyone's so excited about new things, what they're going to do this year, and it's just so lovely to watch and hear all about the books everyone has loved from 2024. So thank you, Booktube, for helping me get excited about New Year in a way I haven't done previously. If you're new to my channel, then my longer videos are one-shots, so I don't edit them. It just is much more of a chill way of doing it for me. I do enjoy editing now and then, but they tend to be much shorter ones. So it's one shot where the camera is rolling and we will just see what happens. So cheers everyone. Clink, 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 clink. One shot, no editing. Little tiny teacup gimmick. Right, so my plans for January are, I'm going to hold up my entire January TBR. That's it. It's one book balanced on my hand here. I have The Mercies by Kieran Millward Hargrave. And this is the only book that I'm planning on reading. Planning on reading being the key word. I'm going to read other books. I'm just not planning them because very excitedly I'm going to be doing No Plan Jan, which as someone who enjoys a plan, enjoys a list, is quite exciting and at the same time slightly intimidating. But first, let me talk to you about The Mercies. So this is, I think it's the first adult book that Kieran Millward Hargrave wrote. She wrote YA and middle grade previously. She's always been an author that I'm like, I'm going to love her work. I just feel it. I just feel I'm going to love her work. And had several of her middle grade books that I hadn't read when I just felt I really needed to get hold of The Mercies. So as you can see, I have it in this really nice hardback cover. It's a navy blue. I've got The Mercies in sort of swirly writing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, well, actually, it is set in Norway. So it reminds me of kind of like the sort of artwork and embroidery with lots of kind of the four patterns that they have in like all the shaping and like the florets and swirls. So we've got blue colours in the four corners, which makes me think of the sea. And we actually have some oars in the four corners. Oh, we've got some oars. It looks like a feather, but could also be a fishbone tail, a whale and a ship in the corners. And then we've got these white, red and yellow flower patterns. And in the centre, we've got two girls holding hands in red dresses with a flower in the centre. And I just really enjoy the cover of this. I think it looks really, really eye-catching and interesting and intriguing. And it's just very pretty. And on the end pages, we have got green and blue sort of waves there. So yeah, I'm very excited to pick this up and read it. I'm going to be buddy reading this with the lovely Emily from Novel Novels. We haven't decided when in the month we're reading it. I was going to speak to her before I did this video, but I was like, actually, I'm short on time for filming, so I'm going to film the video first. But after this, I will be getting in touch with Emily and deciding how we're going to break this down. There's 40 chapters in here. So we'll see how we go. I have no plans, so I'm very flexible with when we read this book. Whereas I think Emily has quite a few plans, so I'm going to kind of go via her. I definitely think I will need a buddy for this because I feel it's going to be very sad. I have since read a Kieran Millwood Hargrave book, and I have stopped myself buying more of her books until I've read more of the ones I have. And luckily, I do like her writing. So I have read Julia and the Shark, which is a middle grade, and it's illustrated by Tom DeFreston, who is also her husband. And it's got really beautiful kind of graphics. It is another kind of like cold up in the north of Scotland. There's an island which is as far Scotland as you can get, and they're like at that most northern point, to do with her parents' work. And it was a really beautiful story. There was a lot of emotion in that story, and I really enjoyed her writing. But I was like, I really want to read the first Kieran Millwood Hargrave book before coming to this one. I want to read some more middle grade, and it was kind of touch and go whether or not I was actually going to manage reading any more of her middle grade before I picked up her adult book. But either way, this book is all I know about it, because I like going into my books knowing as little as possible, is that it is an island where there was a big like catastrophe at sea, where they lost pretty much all of the young and middle-aged men folk. So I think it's just the older generation of men and young boys that they have, and it's the women that then start sort of being in control of this town, city, island, land. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but this place somewhere at the very kind of north of Norway, I think. Or could it be Finland? I did know this. No, it is Norway. Yes, good, great. Tromsø, it says. Vardø. Vardø is an island off the north coast of Norway. So very cold, very, very cold, which is why I wanted to read it in the winter. And so hearing about all these women being in charge of this place, some person of the church who enjoys power and is a misogynist decides, well, clearly they must be witches, and goes to do a witch hunt and investigation. So it's a historical fiction with strong females. I think there's friendship, sisterhood, possibly a sapphic romance, and all of that stuff makes me very excited. So I'm very keen to read this book, but I'm also really worried that it's going to be very, very sad. So I will need Emily on hand to be able to chat and cry with. So there we go. So this is my one book that's been planned. I have actually read my first book of January, which is very exciting. And coincidentally, I may have spoilt it, but it's another Kieran Millwood Hargrave book. I finally read The Girl of Ink and Stars, which is a book I have had since 2021, when my cousin bought it for my birthday. And I'd been seeing it in bookshops. I've been seeing it sat there amongst the middle grade books, and I kept going, that looks really good. I really want to read that. But that was before I was buying books. So when an opportunity came, when people were like, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, oh, books. And I got this book, and I was very excited, but I never read it. And I don't know why. I don't know why it took me so long to pick it up. It has been one of those books that's been on my books I want to read by the end of the year list for ages. This one, along with Queenie and the Doomsday, let's call it a Doomsday, have been the books that have been on my please read these books, why have you not read these books list for ages. Last year I read Queenie. Clearly this year I read The Girl of Ink and Stars. I really would like to read the Doomsday book as well, but we'll see. Not the Doomsday book. That's a very different book. Let's call it a Doomsday. Anyway, I've gone off on massive tangents here, which I didn't intend to. I'm just really excited that I did actually pick it up. And as soon as I picked it up, like within the first chapter, I was absolutely hooked. I was like, yes, this is what I knew. I knew it was going to be like this. Obviously enjoying Julia and the Shark. It still had a slightly different feel to it because you've got the illustrations with it as well. And it was much more of a contemporary feel. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very beautiful. But I think having more of a historical feeling to this one, more of a fantasy feeling to this one, it just kind of had more of that storytelling feeling, like that old kind of like gather around the fire kind of feeling that I really wanted. It is a lot darker than I was expecting. I was not expecting it to be as dark as it was. I would definitely say if you have Middle grade readers that like the cozy whimsy, check how dark they like their books. It's not full on dark, but there is definitely a threat aspect. There is definitely emotion and loss in this book. So do read up on whether or not you feel it's going to be for you. But if you do feel it could be and you're unsure, I would highly recommend to read it because the writing is beautiful. You really connect with the character and her story and her journey and trying to find out what's happening. And there's a real kind of like love towards her family's passion, I would say. It's also what they do for a living, but the cartography and the map making, which brings the title The Girl of Ink and Stars, it was just beautifully kind of put together, and there was quite a lot of action, definitely towards the end, and just this feeling of this place and the legends and the tales, and it was just beautifully done. And I realised this is my January plans, and I'm doing a wrap up, which is quite bizarre. Anyway, the point is, I read this book and I thought it was great, and I'm delighted that I read the first book that caught my eye by Kieran Mawad-Hargrave, which is A Girl of Ink and Stars, before picking up her adult book, which I know will have a different feel to it. So I feel very happy to have done that, and it was a really delightful read, and it definitely felt like a good book because it was quite dark and it had that kind of fearful feeling. It was really fun to read sort of in this sort of wintry time where you're kind of hibernating. It's that period sort of just after Christmas, but before reality kind of hits in, and it just felt a really good book to be reading at a particular time. So I had a great time. It was great, which means I do need to be picking what I'm reading next because I'm not starting the Mercies until Emily's ready. So I need to have another book because I currently don't. So that's going to be fun, and I don't know what I'm going to pick. And have a little tea drinking break now. So I had some ideas. It's moving bits and pieces now. Okay, going with the cold feeling. This is kind of some of the books in December that I didn't get to that I was kind of feeling I might be picking up next. So I have The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. This will be a reread, but it's the only one I've read. I have the second book under my bed and would like to get the third one. But I would like to be reading them all together in the winter months. I don't know if I've left it too late to do that, but I'm trying not to plan. So that's me kind of going into the planning zone. So just trying to ignore that. And actually at the moment, this one and the one I'm going to hold up in a minute, they're both, I'll just hold it up now. The other one is, sorry, it's not the best put together video, but it's basically brain splurge. Hope you like it. If not, maybe try a different video. This is the fourth book in the Adventures on Train series by M.G. Leonard and Sam Sedgman, and it is Danger at Dead Man's Pass. And again, on the cover we can see snow. So we've got a steam train. We've got I keep forgetting his name, Harrison Beck, who is our protagonist, who draws and solves mysteries on trains, and a few other characters at the top of the train. And it is snowing, and we've got dark blue into purple skies. We have the steam train coming across the bottom, and we have lots of pine trees, fir trees, and snow. So it's definitely a great book to read in the winter, and it would help me kind of continue reading this series. I will have 2 more books after this one, and I would love to be able to finish this series this year. But apart from me getting a bit planny with these books, I'm not going to pick them up next because I have just finished 3 middle grades, one of which was The Girl of Ink and Stars. So I actually am in the mood for more of an adult book right now. So I could pick these up later, but at the moment, not for now. When I was browsing my bookshelves, trying to decide yesterday what I felt like reading, I picked up another couple of books because they've just sat on my shelf and I know I want to read them. But I think one of the books I hadn't been picking up was just because it wasn't helping me with like series or other things. And I'm like, oh, that's actually going to be a quick read, so I could just pick it up whenever. Whenever hasn't happened. But this is a novel in verse by Joy McClough called Blood, Water, Paint. I believe this is a feminist novel. I believe she is the daughter of a painter It's historical, and I think her father is abusive, and I think she's trying to make her own way with painting in a misogynistic world. I have no idea, and I'm not going to look. I could pick it up and it could be completely different. But this was a book that came on my radar due to Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. There's some books I've credited coming on my radar by Olivia that actually weren't, but this one definitely was. It definitely was. Because she did a whole video about different novels in verse, and when she was speaking about this one, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then they had it on World of Books, and it's in hardback, so I was like, well, that needs to get into my little online basket. And under the dust jacket, it is purple, and we've got a big silver paint swoosh down the spine, and it says Bloodwater painted it. So this is a possibility. So yeah, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I was feeling stronger about it yesterday, because today I felt slightly more in a fantasy mood, but it could all change. This is why I kind of struggle with the whole mood reading thing, because it's a bit... The other book I picked up is this library book that I have renewed 4 times, taken back to the library and immediately taken out again. And renewed again, because I definitely want to read it. And I paid £1 for the privilege of it being sent from whatever Brighton library it was currently resting in to my local one, so I could pick it up, rather than having to traipse for miles and look through stacks for it. So I really, really want to read it. I started wanting to read it in the summer when I finished Shelley Parker Chang's second book in the Radiant Emperor duology, He Who Drowned the World. So I said, I'm really enjoying the epic Chinese epic. I'm really enjoying a Chinese epic, and I want more of that. And I was browsing books in the library online, and the Water Outlaws came up, and I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. But then because of reading plans and reading goals, I was never picking it up, because also it's big. It's by S.L. Huang, and it is about a group of, I think, 4 women who are trained warriors. And that's all I can remember. I did know more, but I've totally forgotten it. And I'm quite happy just to pick it up and go for it. I think the cover is stunning. We have got green swirls of water, and then we have got a giant black stallion horse with green bridle with sort of coral like rosette flowers off it. And then we have this warrior. She's got a spear with a sword at the bottom, and she's astride this, and she looks pretty awesome in her armor. It's very fancy armor. It's got all kind of embellishments on it, and then you've got this sort of like silhouettes of other warriors sort of leaping around the waves in dark, and it just looks really cool. So this is definitely a possibility. I feeling the fantasy mood. This could work for me right now. The book I'm not picking up, because I did consider it when I was gathering some more books this morning, I am not picking up The Empire of Gold, the last book in the David Budd trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, because right now, over the next few days, maybe I haven't got a huge amount going on, but suddenly it's going to get chaos. We're going back to school. I've got first Holy Communion class coming up to teach, and it's my Mad March Hare's birthday. So, and work-wise, I've gone from doing 2 clinics a month to doing 4 clinics a month. So that's going to add an extra layer of stuff to my regular life. So I cannot pick up The Empire of Gold until I know that flurry has gone. So like mid-month, when all those things have passed, I feel I'll be able to pick it up. Because when I pick it up, I want to just be able to dedicate my time to it. And I know when I'm not dedicating my time to it, I'm going to be thinking about it. So it's not its time right now, even though it should be. Other options, because I'm completely indecisive. So on the fantasy line, these books have been kind of looking at me, and I'm like, oh, possibly. And now I can't decide which one I want to pick up. I've got Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, the second book in the Celestial Kingdom duology. I read Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I don't want to leave it too long before I pick this one up, so I can still remember stuff from Daughter of the Moon Goddess. This one I feel is a lot more lyrical and a lot more like within the mythology. Although there's fighting and stakes, there just feel more of like a beauty to it rather than a brutality to it, which is what I think I will get more in the Water Outlaws. So if the Mercies feels too heavy, this one might feel a bit lighter for me. I don't know. I also have been looking at me The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero La Cruz. Apologies for butchering that name. I will try and get better at that. It's a fantasy. It's a new epic. I don't know if it's epic. It's a new high fantasy, and it is set in South America. I can't remember which country or what, but it's got folklore and mythology that is from South America, and that is one of the areas where I have not read a lot about, and I would definitely like to. So it'll be brand new. It'll be really fun. I'm not going to feel too stressed about continuing the series because the next book is due kind of about now. So that might encourage me to read more books so I can buy it. But I will also know whether or not I do want to buy it. But again, that's getting a bit too planny. But the point is, I'm in a fantasy mood. I don't know anything about this book. It is absolutely gorgeous, the cover. It's sort of like split this dark sort of aubergine purple. Not quite as dark as aubergine, but like it's a really rich purple, and then white at the top. We've got this like sundial compass in the middle that has the title The Sun and the Void, and then we've got gold sort of foiling around the edge, and it just looks very pretty, and it's got purple sprayed edges, and I do love that. Under the dust jacket we have got this absolutely gorgeous gold foiling. There's like crystals in the middle and then flowers around the outside. So I'm intrigued, and I remember when I was hearing was it last year? When was this published? Yeah, 2023. So not last year now, 2 years ago now. I was really excited hearing about it. I thought the synopsis sounded really intriguing. It sounded like my type of book. So I think it's going to be great. So I've got 3 fantasies that I'm really not sure which one I'm going to pick up. But I have a lot of options should I be in a fantasy mood. The final book I'm going to mention is Frontier by Grace Curtis. This is a sci-fi, and I picked it up in this gorgeous shop called Printworks. It was in Leeds. I'll put it in the description box because I can't remember off the top of the head what it was called, but it was an LGBTQ plus bookshop. I had a delightful time wandering around this independent bookshop, just loving it, and I chose 3 books from there, and Frontier was one of them. Or was it 2? It could have been 2 books. I think I had to narrow it down to 2. I think I had 4 books put to the side at the moment. I had to narrow it down to 2. Yes, because I got that one from a different shop. You don't need to know that. Anyway, Frontier. Very excited to read it. Have been for a long time, but again, never picked it up because it's quite small compared to some of the books I read. I think it's 200 or 300 pages. 248 pages. So that's quite small compared to the books I usually read. So it would feel like a quick read. It feels like a lot of fun. So again, it would be a good one to kind of balance out the heaviness of the Mercies. And I'm just basically sold on the back by Love, Loss and Laser Guns. It just sounds fun. So that is my big pile of books. I don't know what I'm going to read next with. So once I choose one of these books, all of these are going to go back on the shelf and I'm going to forget about them. And then when I finish that one book, then I will decide which book I'm reading next. And that is my plan for January, that there is no plans. And somehow I've managed to spend 24 minutes talking about the fact I have no reading plans in January. So there we go. I struggle. What I am actually going to talk to you about is other plans beyond reading in January. So I do have a goals video coming up where I'm reflecting on my 2024 goals and thinking about my 2025 goals. I love these videos. They fill me with lots of joy. I get really excited. It's all about lists and stats and planning, and that makes me very happy. So I have that coming out where I will be going into a lot more detail about things. But January, just January, where I have no plans for reading, I need to stop saying that, I would like to see if I can do Storygraph properly. So at the moment, my interaction on Storygraph is to just add books to my wish list and then occasionally go back through it and then remove books from my wish list. And it's very helpful for going, what books did I fancy reading? And you can definitely see like, oh, I clearly watched one of Katie from Books and Things videos because I've got a load of interesting classics about strong women in them that I hadn't really heard of before. Or like, oh, I was watching someone who really enjoys mysteries video because I've got a load of mystery books like coming after another. So it's quite interesting to see what my Booktube viewing has been compared to my Storygraph list. But I do want to actually start tracking my reading through Storygraph, and I do want to actually start putting little reviews up because I use them a lot. I read people's reviews and how they felt about it, and they are very helpful to kind of gauge. I don't just look at this, it's ones with writing that are the most helpful basically, because I use it to gauge like, what things did this person like, and is that the type of things that I like? And so sometimes when people have written a review and it's not that positive, I like, that didn't work for that person, but I think that could work for me, and coupled with this review that is positive, I think that will work. So I use it a lot. So I'd like to kind of add to it. I'd like to help other readers. I'd like to help authors. Just give more ideas on books. My brain has just completely lost it. Words have eluded me totally here. Yeah, I would like to highlight, give books more hype, give books more attention. This is not working well. Anyway, I want a review. I want a review on Storygraph. They're not going to be in depth. They're not going to be works of art. They're not going to be graded by my English teacher. They are going to be a few sentences to give you a gist of this book and to sum up my thoughts on this book. I'm not going to let myself write more than 3 sentences because that is the type of thing that stops me reviewing, because I feel I need to do it detailed and well. And that is where it starts becoming like a chore that I've got to do, rather than just a little bit to give you a flavour of the book, to help the book. That's what I want to be doing. So from now, because I kept feeling I've got to go back through all the books and update my Storygraph. No, I don't. I'm just going to start afresh. And when I come through my list, I might occasionally, like, if I'm rereading a book, then I can take it off the list because so for example, I am planning on rereading The Realm of the Elderlings. I've taken off all my currently reading books from Storygraph, and one of the books I took off was Fool's Quest, which I was reading in October 2023, and I'd kind of gone back and gone into Storygraph and it just wasn't quite sticking, so I just left this book, and that book had been sat there since 2023. So I've just removed it. Like, I didn't finish, I didn't do anything, because I was like, I just don't want this inaccurate data in my Storygraph. I don't want to have to go back and find out when I actually finished it or anything like that. I'm not ready to review it because it's been a long time. I loved it, but I'm not ready to like give it a few sentences. But as I'm going to be rereading it, there probably will be other ones that, like, for example, Assassin's Fate is going to be on my to read list, even though I've already read it because I haven't updated Storygraph. So this time I can actually go, I'm now reading it through the reread. So there's going to be a few that I'm doing like that. There might be the odd one or two where like I can just star rate and just get that off so it's more up to date. I'd like my Storygraph to be more up to date, but I'm not going to do a big, let's sit down and update Storygraph. I'm just going to chip away at it more organically so it feels less of a task. And I'm starting fresh in January. I have already reviewed one book on Storygraph, so yay, go me. Not The Girl with Ink and Stars. That one I do need to do right now. So that is one of the things I'm hoping to do in January. So I'm feeling if I've got less pressure and thoughts, I can like ease my way into it and then hopefully keep it up throughout the year. We'll see how it goes. The other thing I want to do is I want to be watching more Booktube. So I had a brilliant time, again, we'll talk about this more on my reflection of 2024, of doing the Middle Grade Readers' Choice Awards. I loved being able to do that. But it did take up a huge amount of my November and December. Pulling it all together, editing it so I could have graphics and I could make it, I could sort of be proud of those videos rather than just like talking. I just felt the books deserved more where you could, where I could put it together much more rather than the roughly, I can't even speak, rather than the waffly random stuff that you're getting now. I wanted to do the books justice, but it took a lot of time and it was very much like lots of other stuff slid because of that, which is fine because that was my priority. So I think I'm going to be a lot more aware this year, knowing that I want to do that again in the November period of going, I'm just going to have no plans for this November. I'm not going to have like set videos in November. I'm definitely going to make sure my end of year book tag is October rather than November, yada, 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 yada. So I'm starting to be aware of when I have more time for Booktube and when I have less time for Booktube to kind of make it all fit a bit better. Anyway, consequently, I was watching very little Booktube because my spare moments were continuing to read still, film and edit, and then life. So I wasn't really watching a lot of Booktube that I usually watch. I had so many people's videos, I was like, I will get to yours, I will get to yours. So I'm definitely due on going on people's Booktubes and binging lots of videos. Because especially when I watch people who are my friends or people who are smaller booktubers, I want to give them feedback on their videos and tell them what I enjoyed and get involved with the chat. When people have a bigger channel and a bigger platform, I don't feel I need to comment as much because they get so many other people commenting. I'm like, that's a nice thought, but I'm just going to keep it to myself because they don't need to hear it. Sometimes I do, but generally it's easier for me to not comment when someone's got a bigger channel, has got a bigger watch, got a bigger amount of comments on there. But ultimately what that means is I've got in my head like, well, I'm going to go back and watch them and I'll comment and do all that then, but it doesn't seem to be getting there. So instead of watching, for example, every time Tiffany from Towering TBR releases a video and keeping up with all of her content, even if I'm just watching and liking, at least she's getting the views and that. Whereas instead, I've been like, well, I know I'm going to comment loads on Tiffany's videos, so I can't watch them yet. I'll just watch when I've got more time. But that means that actually I've now, instead of having 5 videos to watch, I've now got 15 videos of hers to watch. And I don't have time to watch 15, so I'm just going to watch 5 and comment on those ones. But then there's 10 videos that she hasn't got the watches or the likes for. And I haven't got to see that content at the time she was releasing it. So my waffly point here, there is a point, is that I need to try and break myself from the habit of feeling I have to comment all the time. Because I know personally, I'd much rather get, it does just fill you with joy when you see your watch rates go up. And you're like, oh, people are interacting with my stuff. Even if there's no comments, even if there's no likes, like just seeing the numbers under your video increase it gives you an endorphin. It gives you an endorphin. It's not the whole reason we do Booktube. We all know that, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, it does. it just does. So I want to help with that. And I'm just missing out by feeling I have to not because I know I'm going to comment. So I have to rein in my need to comment. And I think because I've tried to do this before, I think the only way I can do that is if I literally ban myself from commenting. So I'm going to try this month, and I say try this month because it's been so long since I've watched people's videos, I do feel initially I need to comment. So I'm going to give myself a week. So this next week, I'm going to let myself comment on videos. So from the Friday, the 10th of January, I'm not going to comment on videos in January. I'm just going to do my little... It's like my little emoji signature, the purple heart with a stack of books. I'm just going to do that and watch videos and like videos and not comment. And that might help break me of this need that I need to comment all the time on every video. Because I don't. But it's really hard not to. Because you know I love a chat. I'm chatty. So that's my other plan. Watch more Booktube but don't comment. Watch more smaller booktubers. Watch more booktubers I'm interested in that are less well known. Watch my friends' Booktube videos but not comment. That is my plan. And my final plan, because I was about to drink this tea, is definitely gone cold now. That's cold. That needs either hotting up from the kettle or warming up in the microwave. My final plan that I'm going to talk to you about Well, it's not really a plan. It's getting things ready. So when I'm back fully in February with this is my TBR, these are my goals, this is the things I'm going to be doing. When I'm back in that mind frame, I want to have all my lovely, like, laid out journaly bits ready for me to be keeping up to date with it all. So I've already started on my notes on my phone. I love Keep Notes. That's kind of where I log most of my stuff. But I do like to journal things. So, for example, last year I did the Read What You Own challenge. I started early in September because I wanted to, like, be able to buy books in the Boxing Day sale. And I really enjoyed being able to, like, make it all clear, write lists of books, and do, like, little fancy doodles. Not fancy doodles, do little colourful doodles around them connected to the books. Like, I really love this one I did here of One Dark Window, where you've got the nightmare peeking through the trees. I did not enjoy the book One Dark Window, but I had a great time doing little doodly things to do with One Dark Window. So I want to start that up again, and I have I haven't written it in, but from May this year, I was doing my own kind of version of Read What You Own, which was where I read, for every 8 books I read, I could bank a book. I have got all these books, and I was a bit naughty because I went to a book signing and I got The Fury of the Gods and The Faithless at that book signing before I'd read all those books. But I can fill it in now because I have reached 8 books. So having read The Girl of Ink and Stars, that brings me up to 32 books, which was my goal, which meant I got 4 books I could buy. So The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hearst, The Lost Library, The Fury of the Gods, and The Faithless have all now been added to my personal library. Yay! Which means I can now do a new one. I have done no doodling or colouring yet. It looks very bland. It's in its very early stages. Sorry, random bits of paper keep falling out. What even is that? We don't need to know. Right. So the Read What You Own, my version of the Read What You Own challenge is going to be ongoing from January 2025. For every 8 books I read, for every 8 books read, I bank 1 book to buy. So I did do a count of my physical TBR, including books on my shelves and the ones under the bed, which I earn via healthy points, which has definitely come to a halt over these last few months. So I need to recalculate those because I've got some that I haven't and have come out from under the bed, and I have done some book orders and got some more that have gone onto the bed during the Christmassy sale-y times. Yeah, I know. I bought books even when I hadn't finished that one. So basically fail. But there we go. So I need to tot up some sums for this so I know exactly how many books I have in my total physical TBR. Because usually when I do this, I do it from when I last did the physical TBR count up, which means there's some books I then can't count towards it. And actually I want to go, right, January clean slate. We're counting everything now. I'm knowing what my TBR is now, and we're going forward, and everything on the shelves that I read will count to it. Apart from rereads where I've already read that copy of the book. So I, for example, have my own copy now of The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I have not read from that copy because when I read it originally, it was a library book. So that will count on this list because I'm reading my own copy for the first time. However, rereading The Assassin's Apprentice, I read from that copy originally. I'm not counting it as reading down my physical TBR. So there we go. So I have some bits that count and some bits that don't. So that's going to be something that I am going to set up, make beautiful, and then I'm going to put it away on the shelf and not think about it till February because this is not, because that might influence me in terms of what I'm reading because of planning. So trying to not think about the plans and just think about read what you like. And I think that is everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know how you are doing with your, book reading, book plans, or the life plans. You know, tell me if you're like, do you know what? I am going to do the Couch to 5K this year, or I am going to teach myself to knit. you know, whatever your fresh January plans are, I wish you luck with them. Don't put yourself under a lot of pressure, because that's, you know, not necessary. Just, you got to do what you got to do at the time when you're doing it, and it's, as long as you're looking after yourself, it's all good and things will happen. So happy reading, everybody, and I will see you soon. If you would like to let me know you are here via an emoji, then please put in a pencil, because even though I'm not planning in January, I do like a plan, and I do like a pencil. So little pencil emoji if you got this far. Happy reading, everyone.